Hi, this is Carmen Dahlman with High Desert Screening, and I'm going to be hosting one of the panels today, Actor Development Forum. And today we're going to have on our panel, let me tell you, the board member of the New Mexico local Sag-Aftra, Michael Miller, actor coach Rebekah Wiggins, and hopefully SAG talent agency Tina Presley. So guys, we are ready to start this. I'm so excited. They're going to introduce themselves. They're going to tell us who they are, what they do in the industry, and be ready to start asking your questions. This is free for you. Hi, there's a Screening Film Festival doing this for you. So we're going to start right now. Hi, everyone. Michael and Rebekah. Hi, let's start with Michael. Michael's the board member of the New Mexico local Sag-Aftra. Is that right? Yeah. Would you introduce yourself a little bit, like what you do in the business industry, in the film industry, how you do it, how you started?
How I started? Did you say I was probably 5 years old when I started. My father made little, yeah, long history. Well, I won't take up the whole hour with the whole history, but my father made little westerns in the backyard with the neighborhood kids, and we learned shooting out a sequence. We learned editing. We learned we could shoot ourselves across the across the Great Divide. And as we were doing that, we would play cowboys on one side and Indians on the other, and we got to play both roles. And we couldn't do that today, but that's all right. We started. I learned something about editing. I learned about titling. Learned many things that I didn't realize I'd learned until I jumped back into it with both feet in about 1999, 1997, when we started doing some film work here in New Mexico. I've been involved in a number of projects, both as a producer, director, and actor, just trying to get New Mexico's film scene off the ground. And I've got to say, it seems like it ought to happen now. The difference is it doesn't. It takes a while. We've now built the industry to where we are after 20 years, or 20 plus years, and we still have a way to go. So SAG-AFTRA board locally is now working on plans for the future, and we just had a great meeting for the members a couple of weeks ago to announce some of those plans and to announce that some of those plans are underway.
That's awesome. Rebecca, will you tell us a little bit about your background, how you started in the film industry, what you do?
Yeah, absolutely. Hi, everyone. Thank you, Carmen, for having me. I love Mike. He's acted in projects that I've done, and he's an amazing actor. So nice to see you, Mike. So I started for this. This will be encouraging for people who have never had any kind of like professional schooling or training for acting in film. I actually went to school for music, for audio engineering and music. And then I finished school and I was like, well, what am I going to do with this degree? Like a lot of us feel. And I was like, oh my gosh, we have these beautiful incentives going on. I think you might be in this. It'd be a perfect fit for your Coen brothers. But No Country for Old Men was filming here in New Mexico at the time. And I was like, how do I get on a film set? I was from Roswell, New Mexico. I had no idea. There was no industry there, guys. So I was like, okay, what else can I do to get on a set? So I started doing hair and makeup and special effects actually, and then asking every actor that I ran into, how'd you get into it? What classes are you taking? Who are you working with? I think one of my first classes as an actor was with Kathy Brink, who's an incredible casting director here. We know her, we love her.
I think we've all done her classes.
Right, I know, she's so good. She's such a fan of the actor, which I love. So I, started doing hair and makeup, and then in a month's time, ended up moving up to Albuquerque and booked my first 2 weeks of work on an independent feature. This was back in 2007. And since 2007, I started acting, of course, got my SAG card, my first speaking role on the movie Sunshine Cleaning opposite Amy Adams. That was so exciting. Joe Edna Bolden cast that. who I adore. She's cast me in most of my things that I've booked. And I worked on that, and then from there I started doing independent film. A lot of that, since then I've acted in and produced probably over 20 short films, a lot of them award-winning. Also web series, Date Doctor with writer-director Hannah McPherson, and then I shot 2 features. Most recently I shot a feature titled Iris that premiered at the Le Femme International Film Festival. I play the lead in it and 2 crazy characters, which is my type, I guess, because that's what I always book. But I played 2 crazy characters, and then I was nominated at the London International Film Festival for Best Actress and at the Madrid International Film Festival. And that's a movie that I made. Both of those I was nominated for Best Actress. And recently I've written and am producing a 1-hour television episodic series. My writing partner, Ashley Sorrell, will be in the panel later today. And that won second rounder at the Austin Film Festival, that pilot script, and it also was finalist at the Creative World Awards. So we're in full-on production zone for that with new talent and an Emmy-nominated producer, Emmy-nominated casting director, and new talent. So it should be fun. So I've been running around like a maniac doing that. And I just got off of an acting gig. I was working 2 weeks on an amazing independent film in Inverness, California, which is just above San Francisco. That's me.
Yeah, multi-site. I love it. Okay. I got a question for you, Michael. Let me read it. How difficult it is to become a SAG actor?
Well, a lot of the times it's the work of the draw. It is difficult. There are steps that you have to go through. And I'm going to say right off the bat that you really need to get yourself educated. You want to be a competent actor. You can get into the union with 3 vouchers as a background player in areas that are covered by the New Mexico or by the National Sag-Aftra contract. New Mexico, unfortunately, does not cover background actors, so the voucher system is available to them. On the other hand, if, as happened in a movie recently, you're a background player and the director says, say this, you just qualified yourself and became SAG-Aftra qualified. So there are a lot of different ways that it can happen. It took me probably 4 or 5 years to get my first line. Which is all right. I love doing background work, and I love our background community here. They are the background of our movie. At the same time, if you get that line and you're not prepared, then what happens if you don't get hired again? And that's why you need to talk to somebody like, what's the gentleman in the acting?
Hey,
Rebekah! Rebekah, of course. And there's a, I don't know whether we're allowed to do plugs or not, but there's a sort of semi-plug kind of thing for recommended. Rebekah is good. She is a teacher. She's a very good actress, and I have enjoyed working with her. We worked Sunshine Cine together.
Mm-hmm.
I was the principal of the school. And I have to say that Amy Adams is one of the most generous actors that I've had the opportunity to work with. When you get to be experienced, they will risk putting you face to face with A-list actors. And that's a good place to be. And if you can do that, then your career has a pretty good opportunity to move forward. There are other things that you'll need to do and want to do. I'm sure that Rebekah has a better detailed list than I do off the top of my head because she teaches it all the time.
Well, I don't know. You're a great actor, so you probably have the same stuff I do.
The process from that point is simple. Once you become SAG eligible, at whatever point you want to go ahead and join the union, then you can. Until that time, you can work both union and non-union shows. Mm-hmm. The tendency, however, for producers, particularly coming to New Mexico directly, is to hire union actors. The assumption is that we have had the training and that we know what we're doing. And that's true most of the time. For those times that it's not true, I have to say, from a strictly personal standpoint, go get your training, get your tools. This is a business. And like any other business, you have to have the tools to work. You don't show up at the plumbing site without your wrenches. It just doesn't make a lot of sense. Well, acting is the same way. It seems easy when you look at it from where you are as the audience. On the other hand, step in front of the camera. See how that feels. And quite honestly, the way to start is to look at small independent films that our local directors are doing, because a couple of things are important at this point. I'm assuming that you are more Rebekah's age than you are mine. Now is the time to start building your team. Because as you go forward, it's the teams that are going to come to work with you because they like you and they know you. That's the same whether you're a director or an actor or a producer, whatever it is. I have a team of people that I've developed over the years. If I have a project, I can call on them. Hopefully we will be able to pay them. That's the difficulty with New Mexico independent film. Sometimes it's difficult to raise the money. We are in that state right now on an independent feature that we hope to shoot in totality. Film by the same name. Sometime this summer or next fall. And we're not quite ready to crew up or take pictures yet, casting, but watch for it. A lot of our people probably will come from Rebekah's class.
Woohoo!
Woo!
Oh, nice. I am so glad, Michael, that you clarified something that you said, that once you become a union, you cannot do a speaking role in a non-union project. Some people get confused about when they should stop doing independent film roles.
Let me clarify that. Once you join the union, once you become eligible, you can continue working both union and non-union. But once you become a member of the union, then you are in a position where you will work union contracts.
Okay, awesome. Tina, welcome. I have this question is for Rebekah. Let's see. As an acting coach, what do you see actors doing wrong more than anything else?
Oh gosh, good question. I think that like probably the biggest thing, I'll focus on what the biggest thing you can do right is, because I think that then will remove what's wrong. And that's generally how I teach. I focus on what's good and what's right that the actor's doing, and we enhance that until we crowd out what they're doing wrong. I think the biggest thing to remember in film, and especially if you're doing, I also work with Angelique Midthunder in the casting office. And like, I think the biggest thing is inner monologue, really living in the character's head and thinking, because you think it, we see it. Inner monologue, if you'll add inner monologue, what the character is thinking in between every line of dialogue, before, after, that really pulls you into the world and engages you with the person that you're reading with, as far as acting work goes. I think inner monologue is like the biggest key to great work. And you see it in actors like Daniel Day-Lewis when you watch his performances, right? He can just be sitting there and somehow captivate you. Use the camera as a tool. In other words, if you have an audition or you're doing, some kind of, audition or work in front of the camera, if I have my head down here and I'm doing my work and I'm feeling all these great feelings, does the camera get that? No. But if I lift my head up just a little bit and I'm like feeling all of those things and everything that's going through my mind, the camera can catch that because I've lifted my eyes just a little bit. It's all in the eyes and camera grabbing the eyes. As far as like what actors are doing wrong in like a business sense, I think a lot of times actors expect someone else to do their work for them. It's like, I mean, and Tina could probably speak to this more even than I could, but I think a lot of actors are like, oh, I don't have any auditions. I don't have any stuff coming in. And it's like, well, are you doing your work? Are you taking classes? Are you involved in independent film? You know what I mean? Are you, like Mike said, are you doing the training? You want to be ready. That's why I give my actors like 10-page scenes to memorize in a week so that they can be ready for bigger roles. We want to practice like we play. right? In the prep, in the emotional prep, and then also in your business stuff too. So I think really taking responsibility for your own career, I would say that's the other thing that I would add to, do more of that.
You are your own business.
Yes.
You're promoting, yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
You're promoting yourself.
Sure. Yeah.
Tina, welcome. I have a question here for you. Someone sent me, these are not my questions, by the way. It's other people's questions. We are 13-year-old twins, and we have been acting since we were 10 years old, but mostly background. What are the steps to get an agent?
Well, so all of the agents in New Mexico have different ways to submit to them. So I suggest going to their websites to see what they're looking for. I think the very first thing is if you've been doing background, that's great. So what we look for is experience and training. That's what we all look for, is experience and training. And then, that they're in a specific category. So the niche types tend to do really well. Our Spanish speakers are 18 to play younger, twins, anything that kind of pulls you out from the crowd will catch an agent's eye as well, because those tend to be in higher demand. Kids, I don't like to be overtrained. I honestly like to have a really good coach in the pocket. If they, if their parents are really supportive and they have experience being on set as far as background goes, I think to have a really good coach that's really great with kids is a really good tool in your pocket when you get an audition, to not be, overly trained, especially for kids, or they come off a little bit too almost like Disney-like. In New Mexico, we just are really booking organic, real people. So characters and things like that do really well here. So I would say probably start with background. I agree with Rebekah. If you can get in any of the college, they're doing, I think Capstone's doing a thing right now too, through the college, where they're, just doing really good, projects that you can build a reel and a resume that way. So I think those things are a good place to start. But the New Mexico Film Office has a lot of really great resources and really great, getting started projects and things like that. Because you do want to make sure, and to jump off of what Michael was saying, you want to make sure that you have a good body of work before you join the union, because what can happen is, you're excited that you can join and then you don't have anything to show them. So you don't
and then
have
you only have one speaking role.
Yeah, and that happens
join,
here a
and then you're like, oh yeah.
Yeah. And so, while I think it's super important to join the union, and I only work on union projects, I think that those are all the hustling things that you do before you get an agent, which is, to hustle and get all of those non-union shows under your belt, the 48-hour projects, any kind of low budget, deferred projects. Those are really great places to start.
Thank you, Tina. I got a question for Michael. This is a good one, Michael. What does SAG membership do for an actor?
One more time, what should a SAG actor do for what?
What does SAG membership do for an actor?
What does SAG membership do for an actor? Is that what you mean? Yes. Okay.
Yeah.
Very good. The union is like all trade unions, designed to negotiate the contracts for their employees or for their members, and also to protect their members. We have a serious on-set safety protocol. We have COVID now has, of course, got all the unions involved in doing that. But the benefits for the actor vary on how involved the actor can be. The actor has the opportunity to serve on the local board, as I do, and we have a number of things that we've been involved in over the years and coming up. The national union is the one that's the part that's the part that is charged with negotiating the contracts, and also the mainstay behind the safety. They also are the ones that make sure you get your residual checks and your payments on time. And if not, there are some stiff penalties for producers who don't. They have a program for health and retirement. You do have to reach a certain level of production work that you've been involved in. But at the same time, that opportunity is there for all of us. And it gets you into offices that sometimes you won't get into as a non-union actor. Tina just mentioned she works.
And I understand that you also don't pay for movie theater tickets. Is that true?
We don't pay for what? I'm sorry.
Yeah, when you go to the movie theaters, you don't have to pay.
Oh, well, once in a while that's true, but that's more about the producers or the owners of the theater than it is actually the union. It's a courtesy that a lot of the theaters give us. Now, when it comes award time, there are certain members selected by the union to view well, you get to look at all of the nominees, for instance, for the Sag-Aftra awards that we just had last week as a union member. On the other hand, when you go to the theater, you may have been selected to be on the nominating committee for the awards that are going to be set, in which case you will get that. Now, I do know, because quite honestly, I've experienced it. If you go and present your union card at a movie theater, sometimes they will give you a ticket. On the other hand, if they are booked or it's a really hot show, don't count on it.
Okay, thank you. Yes, Rebekah.
Can I add to what else? I've loved the SAG. I'm sure you've done these too, Michael. The SAG Foundation workshops.
Yes.
So they have a lot of free education, even down to finance. Like our union provides so many educational things for you. I took a whole course on finance and budgeting, which honestly, as someone who I went to music school and then got into the film industry, I needed that in my life. So that was huge. Having that, you can get into workshops with casting directors for free if you're in the union. And a lot of them are on Zoom right now. So that's free training. You don't even have to.
Actually, yeah, you're right, Rebekah. I got an email. I think they also advise you how to use Twitter. The other day they had a webinar about Twitter. I was like, this is interesting. Yeah. I'm not a Twitter person, but yeah.
Yeah, a webinar about Twitter. Also, the SAG, the Actors Fund is huge, and that's through our union. That's helped a lot of people during the pandemic who lost their jobs, who couldn't work because everything was shut down. So our union is really incredible. I'm a fan.
Yeah, me too. This question is for Rebekah. How did you come into this career? Would you describe yourself a risk taker? Why or why not?
Totally a risk taker. All of us here in the industry, everybody is a risk taker or I wouldn't be doing it. Yeah, totally a risk taker. I think there has to be this element of liking change and embracing change easily as an actor. When you're on a set, the director can have you come in, and if you're on television, a lot of times you're getting your lines and your sides the day prior because they've changed and rewritten things. They're writing as they go on TV. So being flexible, being a risk taker, and I think honestly too, not judging yourself too harshly and showing up prepared, but also flexible, more in like a spirit of improvisation. I think that's a really good thing to remember as an actor.
Okay, this question is for Tina. I seriously don't understand this question. I'm just gonna read it. Okay.
We'll figure it out with you.
Yeah, exactly, as we go. If the actor is on the fringe of the criteria spectrum, have you or will you send them with special instructions like, if you are willing to, you might want to dye your hair, or speaking with lips might get you a callback?
Can you repeat the first part of that? As far as like on the, I didn't.
Technically, what I'm understanding is like you give tips to your actors when they go to an audition. Let me read it again. If the actor is on the fringe of the criteria spectrum, have you or will you send them with special instructions? Like,
oh, I see.
Like so if you dye your hair black.
Are they saying like if they don't fit is that how you're getting it? If they don't fit the breakdown, would I push the boundaries of like how it's written? Is that what?
Well, what I'm understanding is like if someone hasn't acted for a while and they have an audition, will you like tell them like, okay, you might gonna get a call back, or you might gonna get cast if you dye your hair black, or if you do this or do that? Will you give your actors like tips or any recommendations before they go to audition?
I do. I mean, I do. I mean, a lot of that is done in the development part as far as trying to figure out, in New Mexico, I'm not really a big branding person because we want to go out for everything. So, the branding, the whole branding and, trying to find your type that they're doing in LA is was more for the larger markets where there's a lot more competition. Here, I like my actors, I don't like to kind of pigeonhole them into one little spot. So we try to just get a wide range of headshots to kind of fill all of those, spots. So then when I do submit, then I can pull, a headshot with dark hair or, and I have actors that we've even just darkened their hair like in Photoshop on a couple of their pictures or lightened it or whatever, and it looks really good. You can't tell, and they can be that in 5 minutes. So that casting doesn't have a problem with that. The things that I can't do is like we can't submit somebody with a full beard if they don't have a beard. So I like the headshots to look somewhat like you look like, but there are things that we can do as far as pushing age. I like to, like I talked about the over 18 to play younger. Once you move out of the over 18 to play younger, then you're kind of thrown in the pool with all the 20 to 30 year olds, which is a hugely oversaturated age category. So then we try to age them up at that point, because then they kind of transition into the nurses and the moms and the dads and all of those types of things. College and FBI and interns and things like that. So I think what can happen is if you don't have an agent that works really closely with you as far as trying to figure out what is marketable, that's the biggest thing I think people miss about the smaller markets is that you can be the best actor in the world, but really in New Mexico, taking thousands of dollars worth of classes when you probably will only get one line and they're really just looking for a certain type. I think the best thing is to have a really great coach in your pocket to help you just book that role. I mean, obviously training is important. If you have an agent, you've already had some training. And then I think it's important to have a coach in your pocket because we're mostly just getting things here that are, do you fit the part and can you follow direction? And in New Mexico, a lot of times, and probably 9 times out of 10, the casting director will hand you another set of sides in your audition. And if you're not just really flexible, like Rebekah was saying, you have to be super flexible in this market because you can't be married to, all the choices you made in this character. And then now they just handed you, 2 different characters for a different show that they want you to look at. So I think that those are really important skills that are specific to our market. And I feel that if the agents really have a good finger on their pulse as far as, what is marketable, as opposed to there are a lot of really great actors that aren't working, just because they're not writing things for them right now.
Well, thank you, Tina. I have a question for Michael. Can an actor make it big if he or she is not a SAG member?
Of course, anybody can make it big. Those things happen all the time. It's just that by becoming a union member, your chances increase tremendously because of things like agents only working with union shows. Those kinds of things are pretty much universal anywhere you go. There's always something that somebody gets discovered in Schwab's, for instance. Now, I don't think that's happened since the 1940s, but it happens in other venues all of the time. People get pulled up from the background and given a line and saying, "Here, you're now SAG actor or SAG eligible." Well, that's what I was saying earlier. It may not be time to join the union. Certainly, we want to make sure that those actors are taken care of and that they get their education and stuff so that when they are ready to join the union and the union or the union shows are ready to look at them, then they have the chops when they get on set. There's nothing worse than having a lucky incident occur and going to set and then not being able to perform. On the other hand, we have people who have been doing stage work, for instance, all of their lives and are just now transitioning into film. Well, there's a certain transition that has to happen. So take a good stage actor who can make that transition. Somebody discovers them, recommends them to an agent, and off goes their career. So those things are possible, yes. they are not the standard. The standard is good old preparation and hard work.
I agree. This one is for Rebekah. It makes me smile though. It's a cute one. What do you like, cats or dogs?
Oh, I like both. I'm a vegetarian. I'm an animal person. So I like both for different reasons. Cats are snuggly and kind of have their own little attitude. You have to come to them. And dogs are always so happy to see you when you come home. So I love both.
I'm puffy. Okay, this one is for anyone, either of you guys. Which acting classes should I take if I'm a teenager?
Well, go ahead, Rebekah.
Rebekah. Well, I actually don't teach. I guess it would depend on where they're living. I actually don't teach teenagers. Sometimes I will if they've worked a lot, because then I can put them in with my adults and know that the emotional maturity is there. But I kind of tend to agree with Tina that over teaching kiddos sometimes is not the best way to go. I think the box has incredible improv classes. Anywhere you can take improv classes. I also know Soul. Don't they have kiddos, awesome kiddos classes there locally?
Soul Acting Academy.
Yeah, so Soul Acting Academy is a great place to start for kiddos. And like Tina said earlier, I think Tina said this about the NM Film website. There's the bulletin board there. So I would just audition. I think art is in the doing. It's great to take classes, but classes, I always tell students this, they're just to feed you in the in-between. It's not so that you get stuck taking a class forever. You want to be working. You know what I mean? Your agent wants you to be working. You want to be working. So I think Soul would be good for kiddos here. And then I also feel like, yeah, any like improv classes, or I have a friend, Alex Knight, who teaches improv via Zoom as well. So that would be a class kiddos could take in the evening, because improv will let you play and use your imagination, but you won't get too programmed. Like Tina was saying with the Disney programming, you won't get too much programming. You'll just get a play and it makes you flexible. That's what I would say.
Awesome. Let's see, Tina. Do you ever send an actor to an audition knowing they don't exactly meet the criteria of the casting director?
This is a huge pet peeve of mine. So actors tend to get in their own way before they even start sometimes. So the process of getting an audition is your agent is submitting you to casting, and that's either via breakdown, which is Actors Access in your materials, or we are talking to the casting directors and saying we have these great people. And so that's kind of how the casting process works. So don't yes, a lot of times the breakdowns change. Like Rebekah was saying, they're writing, things change. Sometimes it's 20 and now they've changed it and now they're looking for a 60-year-old on the same breakdown. So, you know, I get this all the time and it's like, yes, I read the breakdown. Yes, I know I submitted you because I think that you're right for it. And casting agreed with me. So now we're at a point where now you're trying to do everyone else's job. Just be an actor. I love you. I love actors. Just be an actor. Let your agent do their job. Let casting do their job. I think that I know that everybody wants it so bad, but I feel like that's just like right off the bat, you're kind of, you know, doing this self-fulfilling prophecy of, oh, well, I knew I wouldn't get it anyway because I didn't fit. And that is not the case. Usually the writers don't even know really what they want. They're just giving us kind of some ideas, and then we get to play around. I've had times where I have submitted women for male roles and, you know, and non-binary, you know, when they weren't specific and things like that. And we've booked it. And the casting directors are really open to seeing things that kind of push the boundaries of how it was written. And I think it's really important for actors to trust the process and trust their agents, you know, to know that we're not just, like, for me anyway, I'm not just throwing spaghetti. I don't have a huge roster. I'm actively involved in the casting process and a lot of times read scripts and everything. So it's much more than just that little blurb.
That's awesome.
Let me jump in there for just a minute. I think what Tina's saying is really, really important, because they won't let me even read for a 15-year-old anymore. I don't get it. But the point is, we have close to 1,000 actors in this market, and we have 7 agents now. even if all 7 of them are working full time and pushing everybody they can out the door, not everybody's going to get hired. It just works that way. There are a bunch of us in, for instance, my age group and my sort of charactery look that go out for the auditions all of the time, and we see each other in the audition room before we go in, and it's like, oh, you again. But we have to trust our agents to do what they are doing, because they know what we're capable of, and they know what casting is going to want on any given show. Now, here's the thing. Agents work directly with the casting directors, and they do that all the time. As actors, we work with the casting directors once, twice, 3 times, a dozen times a year, maybe. But the agents, every one of them has New Mexico actors, they stand up for them. They really go to bat for them in the situations where they can. But we have to realize casting is still done, for the most part, for the principal roles out of California. Now, as I said earlier, it took us 20 years to get to this point in the film industry. It's going to take us a little longer. The thing that's going to really have to happen is we're going to have to see casting directors setting up offices in this market before we really get a good chance. We have to get our games up. We have to keep our games up. And that's on us between the times that our cast or our agent calls us and says, hey, you've got an audition at 10 o'clock tomorrow morning. Well, what are you doing between those calls? What they're doing between those calls is they're working on their actor's behalf. What we have to do is we have to be ready when we're called.
Michael made a really good point too, is I think also during that time, and we've seen during COVID, it's a great time to reach out to teachers that might be outside of your market, reach out to casting directors as far as, following them on social media, and they're offering all kinds of really great opportunities right now. And Sag-Aftra as well has had a lot of really great opportunities. I think it's not only the agent's responsibility for you to be making relationships. So for actors to be out there and actively making relationships with the casting directors, we can't just kind of sit in our bubble in New Mexico and expect the work to fall in our lap. I go out to the conferences every year in California. I go out to the conferences at NAB at Las Vegas every year. I go to film festivals all over the country to meet people. So I think those are the things that actors need to realize, that we do need to, we're really blessed here and really to have such amazing opportunities. But I think we have to remember that, the casting directors and now, especially in the age that everything's digital, we're at the point where, it's a small world and you can work anywhere. I mean, one of my actors is at Sundance right now. He booked that and shot it in Oklahoma. And he also got a Top of Show guest star in New York this year. And those were coming through our breakdowns. And and so our world's getting smaller, and we have to realize that it's not about just going in the room. We were really kind of spoiled here, where actors would get to work with the casting directors one-on-one in the room, and we were booking everything, and now everything changed. And now, I have actors that don't know how to work a camera and that aren't really familiar with those things. So now we're trying to kind of play a little bit of catch up, because they were booking all the time in the room. But now, especially a lot of my older actors that are, we're trying to work on trying to get them to learn how to do Zoom and how to do the live auditions. And so that's been, and I'm expecting those things to stay. So it's time for us to realize that we have to pivot in that direction. And we are getting, in the last couple of weeks, we are getting casting directors outside of the markets that are casting our projects. I have 2 right now that aren't using a local casting directors. So if they don't know you and they don't know me, it's a trust thing. And so we have to make sure that they're seeing the best, they're seeing your best work. And this is the first impression, and, and all of those things.
Yes, Rebekah.
I just want to add, I feel like what Tina and Mike are saying is so good and so relevant. I just want to speak to what Tina's saying. In working with Angelique in the casting office, I can watch, as a casting associate, I can watch 100+ tapes in a day. If I have people coming into the office, at most we might be able to see 30 actors. So I agree with Tina when she says things probably aren't going to go back to the way they were in that realm. I'm sure a lot of directors will still want to see people in the rooms for callbacks when that's really safe. But other than that, and they might be on location. If I'm on a location somewhere, I'd rather hop on my computer and look at you and talk to you and be able to then go right back to work than have to come in rent, Angelique has to rent a building. We go to the building, we set up, you know what I mean? So I think Tina's exactly right. I think getting really good, all my students have to self-tape every week. It's a hybrid of self-tape meets technique, because that's just the future, period. And then
it makes it practical for everyone.
Yeah, it makes it practical for everyone. And then I was wanting to speak on what Mike was saying earlier. It was so good. He's talking about bringing your A game and really showing up, being prepared. And Tina was talking on it too, trusting that your agents and the casting directors know way in advance what they're calling you in for, the reason they're calling you in for, and bringing your best version of that. Not trying to be some other totally different character than you are, or some totally different. If they called you in, they called you in for a reason. So bringing your best version of that. I mean, I've been in casting rooms with people who are 20 years older than me and 20 years younger than me, different ethnicities, different genders for the same role. So just having confidence in your agents, and the casting knows what they need and want, and then just getting to the acting work. So I just wanted to comment. I was agreeing with everything they're saying. It was good.
Which that leads me to a question that I think I had somewhere here. I have to find it. About self-taping yourself. How important is it, and how could you learn to do the lighting and the sound in order for you to have a high quality audition? Because it's not the same one-on-one. One-on-one, they see you're sweating, they see you everything. They are recording for you and they are reading for you. But what if you don't have a reader? What if you don't have the perfect sound or the perfect light? What would you recommend to an actor who is auditioning now these days at home, from home?
I'll take that.
Yeah, go ahead.
You can do that. I have a very simple answer. The very simple answer is there are people who can do that for you in this market, and they will. It's a business. Invest in yourself sometimes. On the other hand, you can set up your own self-tape equipment for under $100. And there's a simple way to do it. It doesn't sound highly professional, but it looks professional when it's on camera. Light is light no matter what instrument it comes from. So you can go to Home Depot, for instance, and buy little spotlights, fairly cheap. You can get I'm going to make noise with my microphone.
Yeah.
I have I don't know whether I can show it to you or not. I have a shotgun microphone that I use. There we go. Shotgun microphone that I use, and the one I'm using now costs $30 on Amazon. So invest in yourself. Either get somebody who knows how to do it for you, or there's lots of YouTube instructional videos. I wanted to hop back for just a second about the classes. And the only thing that I want to say about it is that we have great instructors here in a number of different categories, but we also have people who don't yet know really what they're doing. So what I want to say is vet your instructor. Make sure that they've got the experience and the knowledge to do it, and then take a sample class. Most of the teachers in this market will let you do that, and that will decide for you or help you decide which instructor you mesh with best.
Yeah. I think also a good quantifier to add to that, Mike, because I think that's really wise. Another good quality to look for is do they have students who are booking work? Have they booked work in the capacity that you're wanting to book work, right? Because then okay, cool, this person's been there and done that. That's always how I've looked at my instructors. I want someone who's actively doing the work. I don't care if they worked 20 years ago and now they're not doing anything, me personally, So I think having people who've done that, and like you said, I want to go back to self-taping. YouTube is so many great resources, and it's free. If you want to take a class, there's a friend of mine, Scott Takeda, who teaches through Talk to the Camera, and he's booked incredible. He booked Dallas Buyers Club with his self-tapes, and he teaches a whole course on it. I have a whole list of that I created when I was working with Angelique of basically self-tape tools. Some of mine are over here, my ring light and all that stuff, right? With a headshot on it. So I have a face to look at, because I have my reader now reading with me over Zoom. I don't have anyone come to my house anymore. So that whole kit though, in my self-tape tools kit is not including your iPhone or your smartphone, but it's $150. That's for like the ring light, the cover, so you don't get those weird rings around your eyes. You want to make sure you can be seen, and you want to make sure you have good sound. Because if we can't see you and we can't hear you, and the human ear picks up hundreds of sound cues. So emotion is told in your breath and in the way that you're like, you swallow. And we need to hear all those things in a scene when we're seeing it, right? It just conveys more. We can only track 1 to 2 or 1 to 3 things with our eyes. So sound is really, really important. And I think a lot of actors forget that. But yeah, YouTube's a great resource. Scott's class is wonderful. Like I said, I teach a bunch of self-tape. That self-tape is part of my course now, period. You have to send in a self-tape every week. It gets critiqued technically, and also your acting work and I teach at southwestsceneworks.com. I don't know if I said that earlier.
And Catherine Brink is actually getting ready to do a tape class, which is very, very affordable. She's a wonderful casting director, very supportive of actors and agents, and just a fabulous all-around person. And I posted that, I think, yesterday on my Instagram account. So it's just all the information about her upcoming class. And whenever our casting directors do classes, definitely jump on them. I know Angelique does them once in a while as well. When she's not working, the problem is everyone's working, which is a good problem to have. All the casting directors are working, so they tend to not do as many classes as you might see in a bigger market. But I recommend definitely jump back to like, where do you get your classes from? IMDb is your friend. You can IMDb all the people you're working with and see what they've worked on. A good thing to think about too is we're not a commercial market, so to do a ton of commercial training and all of that isn't as valuable here as as you would need for the roles that we're getting. We very rarely get a SAG, a union commercial. I think I've maybe seen 2 in the 10 years that I've been doing it. So to focus on kind of really what you're looking for, which is individual, if it is something where you're feeling like you need to be more flexible and taking classes that are improv and those things, or just making sure that the things that you feel insecure about, you're covering with whoever it is that you click with for your teacher, But I think teachers, for me, it's working actors and working casting directors. That's where you want to start.
Sweet. Let's see. Do you think about having a degree from a university in acting is important to succeed? I don't know who.
I have a number of.
I think it's a great base. I think it's a great base. I, as far as having a degree isn't going to necessarily get you a role, but it will definitely give you a nice solid base. One of my pet peeves about a lot of people coming out of college, and this is more about the program than the actors, is they come out and they think they're going to hit the road and they're going to have all these auditions and they're going to be a movie star. And then I find out they don't even know how to read a call sheet. So those types of things, for me, experience and training. So your training can be from school, which is wonderful, but the experience is really important too. Like set experience. And even if you're doing crew, just wherever you're getting that set experience is the biggest, most important thing here, because there's just no way that, a lot of actors, I'm not seeing, I don't know who the teachers are at a lot of the colleges locally, but if they don't have film credits, that's something you might want to look at,
Let me jump in here for a second on that. I have a degree. No one has ever asked me about my degree. Do you have one? Yes. Okay. The advantage of going to a film school or a school for any subject, as a matter of fact, is that you learn how to learn. And that's the chief advantage when you leave school. When you get into the job market, how to learn. Hopefully you know how to think critically, and hopefully you know how to do enough research that puts you ahead of the rest of the crowd. That's the benefit of the college education in my mind. Do you have a degree? Yeah. Why? Well, yes, degrees are important only because there is a segment of the employment population that thinks degrees mean something. Now, you get to be a master and a doctorate. It means you're qualified a lot more than a bachelor. But at the same time, what does that degree get you? Does it get you employment? No. What gets you employment is what you are able to do, whether you are able to perform the job when called upon. Luck is being ready when opportunity finds you.
I love that, Mike. That's so good. Can I add to you?
Sure, absolutely.
I totally agree with that. And I think Tina hit on this as well. Getting on a film set in different capacities, guys, like we need to learn that when you're on a film set, it's about the team. I had a student of mine and she said, I was so excited. They were complimenting, it was her first speaking role on a series. And she's like, they were complimenting me. And the guy said, I think you're going to make it big. And she said, oh, really? Why? And she wanted him to be like, oh, because you're an amazing actor. But he's like, you're really polite and you're easy to work with. And there's something about that, being kind, being polite, being a team player. I think when you get on a film set and realizing it's not just all about you as an actor in front of the camera, right? You're moving with all these big pieces. And I think that art is in the doing. So that kind of willingness, like Mike was saying about learning, constantly wanting to learn. I've been in a film capacity on set in every area except for cinematography. It's the one I haven't done yet. But it's like learning what the jobs are. Not that you need to do those jobs when you're on the set, but just knowing what other people are putting in and having that kind of hunger to like learn and grow always. I think that's what makes for great actors. Take every class you can, learn, meet with new people, like Tina was saying, meet with new people. It's about relationships too, and really having strong relationships. And when they know you're a good person, me personally, all the people I'm working with now on my television pilot are people who I know are good humans too, not just talented humans, but good humans. So I think that's really important.
It's so nice that you mentioned that because, yeah, Michael, you want to add?
I want to add something to that, but I think that train went right on through. Thank you, but I'm here till Friday.
Oh, sorry.
That train did in fact not stop. We'll catch up later. Let's
okay. Sounds good. I am so glad that Rebekah mentioned that because I have a question here. You guys do several things in the industry. You guys are actors, directors, producers, writers, all that stuff. Would you recommend an actor to produce, direct, or to get involved behind the scenes, and why?
Yes. Yeah, again, yeah, I feel like I maybe just already said this, but I think that
why?
Yeah, I think that the why is knowing how other things work in your industry is only going to make you better at your job. Like Tina was explaining how breakdown services works versus Actors Access. If you kind of know that side of things from Tina's side, I feel like you're going to know your job better because you're like, okay, cool. It's not my job to say if I'm right for a role or if I'm the perfect fit or the right age, look, ethnicity, sex, whatever. So I'm going to give that to Tina. I'm going to let her handle that. And I'm going to do my stuff, which is just my acting work. And I used to do hair and makeup on sets a lot. And it's like, so I know when I go to a set, I don't come with like full makeup like I have on today and show up so that someone then has to take it all off and then put more makeup on me, just simple things like that. I think when you understand other people's, it can make you more clear on what your job is. That's the benefit.
Was I supposed to put makeup on today?
Mike, where's your rouge?
You look good, Michael.
Yeah, I have a face for radio and very many character roles. Very many character roles, which has been fun. I'm going to take a shot at that question. I'm able to produce and direct as an actor, a hyphenated ability, if you will, because I did exactly that. I got involved in the crew stuff early. I got involved in the producing process to find out exactly how it works. It's a business. It affects my business. I need to know how those things work. I did not learn it in college. Sorry. Can you tell that's a pet peeve? Don't wave that degree in people's face. It won't mean anything. But go out there and realize and be humble, be willing to continue to learn and be willing to continue to do the work. I'm not going to say, because there might be a director watching who doesn't need to know how old I am exactly, but I play roles from 55 to whatever they can believe. So the point is, I'm still learning. I'm still going to class. I have classes, if not every week, at least 2 or 3 times a month. And I go to every casting director workshop that I can get into. Why? Not that I think they're going to teach me anything new about acting, although most of them will and can, but because it's the connection that Tina's talking about. You have to become known in the market. For a long time, we've all been told it's not what you know, it's who you know. Well, no, that's not exactly it. It's who knows you. And in order to be known, you have to participate in the industry. One of my pet peeves is the actor or the crew that says, I'm not going to work for free. Well, okay, well, if you've elevated yourself in the job market enough that you're getting department head jobs, for instance, okay, why not? Because you need to pay it back, pay it forward to the people who are coming up. I work free jobs all the time. Maybe that's, no, never mind. There's one other thing that keeps crossing my mind as we're going through this discussion is we keep hearing from casting directors and from teachers, just bring yourself, you're enough. Really? I don't want to settle for enough. I want to tell you that you are more than enough. If you do the work, you will be more than anybody else out there who's not doing the work. And so how serious are you about being an actor, about being in this business? It's a lot of work. Yeah, oh, sure, there's glamour on opening night, but it's a lot of work. And you need to be willing to do that if your career is going to advance.
Beautiful. Okay, I have a question here. What are some tips to put together a good acting reel?
What?
What are some good tips to put an acting reel?
First of all, do some free work for somebody. Work one of the local independent shorts like Tina was talking about. Get the reel, get the clip from that reel. There are a lot of people in town who do reel edits if you don't know how to do it. There are a lot of folks who can help you put together a Class A reel. I think now, for the most part, and Tina, you can maybe verify this or not, casting directors are looking for clips as opposed to whole reels. When they get to the breakdown or the callback session, sometimes they will then want to see the whole reel so they can see whether you can act beyond 30 seconds or not. But at the same time, concentrate on the clips. Make sure that you get clips from all of the projects you work on. It's notorious in this market for not getting clips, but that's...
Yeah, go ahead.
I just want to add to that, we're advocates in the Mid-Thunder office. When you have clips up, we will add those clips for you. And I know Tina probably does that as well for her actors. And Tina, you can speak to that. But if someone's really right for something and say it's, a cop role, and they have this other great one with them as like a security officer in something, we'll add that and be able to send that then to the director to watch with your audition. So when you have those up, it's kind of like, help me help you. So when you have your clips up, and like Mike said, another reason to know other people's jobs on a film set is so you can produce work yourself. That's why I got into producing, is so I could do characters that I cared about. So I had to learn what independent producing was. I didn't know, I didn't go to film school, and it's like you have to learn, and being on set with people, you can learn those jobs. but yeah, independent film is a great place to start to really get good clips to where we can sell you, help Tina sell you, help casting sell you, because we want the actors in New Mexico to be booking it. And now you're not just competing with New Mexico local markets, you're competing with folks from all over.
And to jump on what Rebekah was just saying, I think, and be really in tune with your friends' projects and things that people are doing that maybe be outside of your typical type. Like whenever I see something that's maybe, you know, a serial killer for one of my 80-year-old women, that really excites me, because then I'm like, oh, you know, you can be a grandma and you can be, you know, a serial killer. So it gives us a really good range. And I think to even be thinking about, you know, like what Mike was saying earlier about, you know, I don't work for free. Well, I worked for free for almost 10 years. It's when I started, because you're just learning and doing favors for everyone, and everyone's helping each other. And then hopefully when you need a favor, they'll come back and help you, right? And then you get to a point where, you know, where you start to say, okay, now I have to reevaluate my hustle and what my priorities are. And like I was saying, when I first started as an agent, I was hustling on all of these projects and trying to get everyone seen. And then I started to realize that I was getting burned out. And that's when I started to focus just on union projects, because I feel that actors can do all that hustle, the little clips, all that stuff. They should, you know, find a mentor, get a great teacher, get into some classes, and make a lot of really good friends that are booking things that you haven't booked yet. And then that puts you, you know, align yourself with people that have what you want, right? And then everyone's kind of moving up together. And that's the exciting thing, is that, you know, I agree that I think clips are the most important to start. You know, if you're talking about where should I spend my money, clips before a reel. And then, you know, a reel can be important later on when we're pitching, but to me, it's not as important as having a nice range of headshots, having, you know, your clips on your Actors Access. And if everyone doesn't have an Actors Access account yet, like those are the places where you need to start. You know, most agents won't even think about looking at you until you know all of those little basic tools about how to upload your tapes and all of those things, how to set up your own portfolio. And I know we have a lot more sites now other than just Actors Access. So now we're using Cast It, we're using casting workbooks, I think it's called. And we also use casting networks and Cast It Talent. And so there's quite a few of them, and they're all free, you know. And that is just, I don't think actors realize that the Actors Access, because that's where I keep my roster, and most agents keep their rosters on the breakdown services portion of that. So what happens is when you set up your portfolio on Actors Access, then when you get an agent, it will bump you into their side of the system. So, but that's yours, and it always stays with you no matter who your agent is. So that's one of the things, if you're very first starting out, if your kids are just starting out, everyone needs an Actors Access account. You know, the free account, at least 2 headshots, get some clips up there, and get the slate shots that are attached to your headshots where you get to speak. I tell a lot of my my bilingual actors to throw in some, you know, another language in those clips, because that's a really quick and easy way for us to show that they can actually, you know, do the special skills. Because a lot of times, you know, it's look, do you have, can you say a line, and do you have the special skill they're looking for, you know, before, you know, them wanting to see your resume and your college and all of those things, which does help in the end. But the very first thing is, you know, do you fit the ethnicity? Do you speak another language? Can you shoot a gun? Can you ride a horse? All of those things. And also get clips of those things, because this is another thing. I'm a huge special skills clips. I mean, get clips of you doing anything. If you're, I have one of my gals said she was going hunting this weekend, and I'm like, get pictures, you know, because, you know, get some clips for us, because if you say you can shoot a gun and you don't know how to hold a gun, or you say you can ride a horse and you've never been, we just had that in one of our big offices here last year, where, you know, luckily I was somebody from a different office who said that they could ride a horse. And I got a call at 6 p.m. saying, who do you have? And I said, I have barrel racers. I know they can barrel race. And I'm like, I need clips so I can prove to them that my actor's not, you know, making up their experience level in those special skills. And we had 2 hours to get her to set, because who they had booked was not comfortable on a horse, and they were shooting. And so, and those are all the things that are just so important. You know, don't lie about what your special skills are. Be honest. You know, I'm always really honest. If you can just do an accent, if you can do an accent, you can do a line usually. But if they're asking for fluent, we're not going to pretend, you know. So I think there's just like a lot of things there that it's honesty is just such a big deal. Don't lie about where you live. Don't lie about your experience. You know, everyone starts somewhere, and we all started somewhere, and we all understand that everyone's at a different level in their game. But it's so important to build that trust in your relationships with the agents and the casting directors that don't ever lie about those things. Yeah, it's really important.
That's so good. That's so good. I always say, if you can't do this special skill on the spot when they ask you, don't put it on your resume. So if you can't walk out the door and get on the horse, don't put that on your resume that you have it as a special skill. Tina's exactly right. Because again, we're talking about building relationships and trust. And, you know, if you have your agent doesn't trust you now because you lied about it, also the casting director, also the production company who hired you now knows your name and knows that you lied about that. So I totally agree with Tina there. That's so wise.
That goes hand in hand with my comment of it's about who knows you. That's a good way to get them to know you, but that's not the way you want to be known.
Nope.
Exactly.
Okay, guys, a couple more questions. We're almost done. When you are SAG eligible, at what point must you join? And is there any time frame in which you have to join?
That's a little complicated. I'm not sure I can describe it accurately because it's a little complicated. It's what was called a must join. Used to be that you could work 2 pictures and must join. It now has something to do with a 30-day wait. Tina, do you know the details on that?
You're a must join on the 3rd, and you'll have to join before you work. And I think that there is, it's called 30. There's a special name for it. I just always refer everyone to the Sag-Aftra website because we can't possibly remember everything, but all of those things are on there, and it actually walks you through, you know, how to, you know, the process of who to trust for an agent. And it has just so many amazing, you know, things on the website to what's commissionable and all of those things. I, you know, to go back, that was kind of part of what our original question was, you know, about when is it time to join. And I think that that is specific on the person. But as far as having to join, you know, that it's different here than it is in other markets. Other markets you can join through background and things, and you can't do that here. So I think to go to the local page on the Sag-Aftra website, it has a lot of information too.
Sag-Aftra.org.
You know, let me comment on that a little bit too, Tina, because that's the most important thing. Everything I've said here today, even though I'm a member of the union and I'm on the local board, is based on my own experience and my own knowledge of it. Well, I'm a human being. My knowledge is sometimes flawed. But if you want to know the exact truth of it, go to the website, look it up. It's all there. You can look up contracts, you can look up pay rates, you can look up requirements. It's all there. You can look up how to become a SAG actor.
But on your 3rd project, and on your 3rd project, they will, you know, tell you, they will station involve you is what it's called, and they will check to see if you are what they call a must join. And if you are, then you have to pay you for your work. Yeah. And I think that's where the 30 days comes in, is I think that there's a little bit, you know, there are a lot of nuances there that I refer to SAG to.
A fine example of that actually is my wife, who back in 1987 did a national or a regional commercial. We were not union at the time. We got cast, both of us, in a show just a couple of years ago. No, how long has it been? 2007. Okay, quite a while ago. And they did a section 12, and she was a must join. So I had to scramble to come up with the dues in order to make sure she got the role. You hear a lot of rumors about productions going to pay your dues. Don't count on that. It could happen, but don't count on it. The nice thing about being a New Mexico actor is, if joining in New Mexico, is that you get to join instead of the $3,000 fee, it's roughly $1,000. if you decide to work outside of the New Mexico market, or specifically in California, then you have to bump up to what the dues would have been at the time, but it's dues at the time, not the current level. So if it was $3,000 in 2007 and it's $3,500 now, you get to join at the $3,000, or the difference between what you joined at and what the full fee was at that time. So you have another area where you can take your time.
Great information.
Did I freeze?
Michael.
Did I freeze?
I think we're all listening.
Yeah.
Am I moving slow?
I don't know. I'm hardwired, so I can't ever tell. If it freezes, is it me?
No, it's like, you're looking good though. Okay, there's one last question. We're almost there. What social media platforms are best to market yourself as an actor?
I like Instagram. I like Instagram a lot. I feel like a lot of the casting directors were doing awesome like casting calls, or they're letting people come in. I saw a lot of casting challenges from casting directors on Instagram, but that's just the one I'm more active on.
So I use Facebook more than anything else. I use Twitter once in a while. And I have because of some professional interests, I have some LinkedIn accounts that I look at, once every couple of weeks, maybe. But I think it's pretty much the age of the actor. And depending on where the casting director is looking, that's where you want to be. So in essence, you want to be on all of them. I'm just now trying to get an Instagram account started and actually being productive. I am old enough that I could use the excuse that I'm too old to learn something new. I'm not. I am not. We can learn until they put me in the box. I'm going to keep learning something every day and keep working.
You are never too old or never too old.
I have a preference for LinkedIn because I like LinkedIn and Instagram. LinkedIn is fabulous for actually connecting and networking. I've met a ton of producers and actors and casting directors on there, and it's all business. It's not political. No, it's I'm liking it much more than say Facebook. I mean, my business is on all of them, not personally on all of them, but I am on Instagram, and I am. I do really like LinkedIn. Instagram is more for promotion, and I feel like LinkedIn is more for networking. But I definitely follow all the casting directors. If your agent sends out a talent report, which is basically tells you, I send them out twice a year to my actors, and it basically tells you all the offices that I submitted you in for what project and what role. And what that does is it just gives us a lot of information, and you can go follow, those casting directors, maybe take their workshops. If you haven't been in their rooms, it just really narrows things down, and it's really, really very valuable. And of course, everyone uses IMDb, and I'm seeing a lot more producers use IMDb. Sadly, to kind of see if they're comparing actors, I have seen it happen, them choose somebody that has more credits or more credits with actor, name actors. And because I'm ADD, I'm going to jump back to the fact of one more little thing that you want in your clips is if you really focus on the roles that you are sharing a scene with somebody that is recognizable. And then, so as far as clips go, that's one of the things that you want to make sure that's more important than you in a crowd scene saying a speech or something like that. And then back to the social media stuff. I like I said, Instagram, I think, and make sure. Oh, and another thing, make sure that you have a professional email address, not like actor dancer 46 or whatever, because I have thousands of emails that I populate every single day, and if I have to go search out who's hot actor 43, it's really difficult. So And I know that the productions are having the same situation. Your email address should probably be a Gmail account. We had a lot of problems with people using other accounts like Live and Earth and all those things, and they weren't getting their auditions through EchoCast, and there was the whole thing. So Gmail kind of links with everything, and I haven't had a problem with it. So I really prefer everyone for their business to have a professional Gmail business account with your name at gmail.com. That's one of the things that I really, and then also have that in that whole little setup, like a picture or just your name on your how come I can't think? Your signature on your emails. So you want a really nice professional signature on your emails at the bottom of your email that has your LinkedIn account, your all of your social media accounts, whether or not you're Sag-Aftra, you just have like almost like a little business card in your. It's really important that you have your phone number. I've had actors that I look at hundreds of people every single day and they'll send everything and they have to go hunt down their phone number. And I'm just, I just don't want to do those things. Those are all really simple, easy things that you can make, everyone's production and my life easier, and no one really thinks about it. And even if you had your, your email account for 50 years or however long, it's important to kind of move forward and realize that, everyone's moving towards these certain, Gmail links pretty much with everything, and especially all of the casting platforms. And I would hate to see people, people's emails getting bounced or them not getting their information. And we missed a lot of auditions because of that. When we switched over to the lives last year, people were saying, oh, I didn't, they all went to my junk mail, they weren't linking properly. So
now that you mentioned the phone number, is it okay to add the agent number instead of your personal number? What is best? Like if I put my number instead of my agent number on my
on your email, that should be you. On your resume, it should be your agent.
Okay, sounds good. So you guys want to add anything to this panel? Like any info that you guys want to share that I didn't ask?
No, I don't have anything to add really. Nice to be here with you all today. I think Tina was talking about it and I just thought of it, so I'll say it. She was talking about having clips with named actors. I think that she was talking about IMDb as well. Make sure you get stills on your IMDb of you with the named actors and tag the actor in it. That bumps the star meter too on IMDb. And I based all of my casting with the named talent that I'm working with on the television pilot that I'm doing. I based actually all my named talent with the star meters on IMDb. And I put that in my casting grid so that people knew, oh, this person's top 5,000 on IMDb. That means that you'll get more butts in the seat when you take that to a production company or to sell, right? When you take it to network.
Why is that? Why the star meter number is that important for production?
Because basically a star meter gauges the actor's popularity on IMDb. So the lower the star meter, the more well-known. So the top 1,000 is Brad Pitt's in the top 1,000 or whatever, probably. I don't know today, who knows? It changes weekly as people are looking at it. But that's how a lot of, when you're going to network, I have a friend who just sold a feature with named talent attached. And because the named talent was attached, that's what sold it. They weren't named writers. Nobody knew who they were, but they had people who believed in it and who were attached. So I think IMDb is huge. Like Tina was saying that for producers, because that says, oh, if I've got people with high star meters, this means you're going to have fans watching. Yeah.
It stems from before IMDb was part of Amazon. It stems from actually, I think it was Hollywood Reporter that used to publish an annual list of 1 to 100, and that was used by producers to determine who was bankable. And bankable is a serious consideration. They use the IMDb score now. They use a number of other factors, but they use box office results of the films that people were in. Was it an Oscar winner? Was it a nominee? Was it this or that? So the numbers are important, but they're not numbers you want to get hung up on, because they do shift weekly, up and down and up and down. And it is based on how many people went in and looked at your site. looked at your IMDb report. Hopefully, a lot of those are producers, even when it's a high number. But the other part of that is, as Rebekah was saying, it's simply a matter of a population. It's probably the industry's major popularity contest. Let me say it that way.
Yeah.
But that's important to the accountants. And you have to remember, I can't say it enough, this is a business. Take care of yourself as a business. Don't quit. If you're serious about being in this business, learn everything you can about it anytime you can. Associate yourself with everybody you can that has an opportunity to get to know you. Remember, not who you know. It is who you've acted with, but it's not who you know. It's who knows you. And I guess as a wrap-up statement, my statement is what I give to a lot of people, but actors a lot. You are more than enough. Don't settle.
Well, I guess that's it, right? Okay, guys, thank you so much for joining us.
I hope we answered all your questions. This panel will be available to view on our YouTube channel, so as on our website, hiderscreen.com. You can find us on Facebook, follow us, like us, and don't miss out. Our second panel will be at 6 p.m. today, Filmmakers Symposium, and it's going to be awesome because we're going to have people from the film office. We're going to have director, hopefully Rebekah will join us again. and now that I find out Michael's a producer, he's also welcome to join us. We're gonna have Herb.tv, which is a distribution company. The founder and director is gonna talk about how to put your short films on streaming and distribution, which is awesome. We're gonna have a writer, and we're gonna have a film composer. How music is so important in the film industry. So thank you guys once again for joining us, and remember hiderscreening.com. Visit us on the website, visit us online, and see you at 6 p.m. Thank you so much.